Today, we're tackling a huge question that so many people are asking. Can you actually buy a home in the US if you don't have a social security number? Now, I know it can seem like a confusing, maybe even an impossible path, but we're going to cut through all that noise and show you how it can be done. So, how do you do it? How do you build a life here and achieve that dream of home ownership if you're one of the millions of people who work hard and pay their taxes but don't have an SSN? That's the exact challenge we're unpacking today. All right, let's dive in. Here's our roadmap. First, we'll talk about the most important tool you'll need, the ITIN. Then, we'll get into building your financial foundation. After that, we'll hit the big mortgage question, figure out the lending market, and wrap it all up with a clear path forward for you.
First things first, what in the world is an ITIN? This is section 1, and honestly, it's the most critical piece of this entire puzzle. So let's really break it down.
Okay, so an ITIN stands for Individual Taxpayer Identification Number. It's a 9-digit number, and a little fun fact, it always starts with the number 9. It's issued by the IRS for one main reason: to make sure people without a social security number can still file their taxes and comply with U.S. tax law. Simple as that. And you know, this program has actually been around for a while, since 1996, but it has definitely changed over the years. As you can see, the rules got a bit tighter. In 2003, you had to start filing a tax return at the same time as your application. Then in 2015, a big rule came in. If you don't use your ITIN to file taxes for 3 years in a row, poof, it expires. Today, it's an absolutely essential tool for millions of people. Now, this is so important to understand. You have to be crystal clear on what an ITIN is and what it isn't. It's your ticket to filing taxes and opening a bank account, but, and this is a big but, it is absolutely not a work permit. It doesn't make you eligible for Social Security benefits, and it has zero impact on your immigration status. Just think of it as a tool for taxes and nothing more. And this right here, this is where it all begins. This is the IRS Form W-7. It's the application you'll fill out and send in with your very first tax return to get your ITIN. You know, seeing the actual form can make this whole process feel a lot more real and totally achievable. So you get your ITIN, and suddenly you have a financial identity. But can you actually use it to build a credit history? You know, the bedrock you need for any kind of major loan? Let's find out. The answer is a massive, resounding yes. You can absolutely 100% establish and build a solid credit profile using just your ITIN. This is a total game changer. So how do you do it? Let's just walk through these steps. First, you open a bank account. Next, you find lenders. Credit unions are often a great place to start that offer things like credit cards or car loans to ITIN holders. Then comes the most important part. You use that credit responsibly. You make your payments on time every single time. That's what builds your positive credit history. And get this, you can even request your credit report from the big bureaus, just like anyone with an SSN. Okay, you've got your ITIN, you've been building a solid credit history. Now for the biggest question of them all, the mortgage. This is where things can get really confusing. But don't worry, we're about to make it all make sense. All right, let's just get right to it. Can you get a mortgage with an ITN? I'm guessing if you've done any searching online, you've probably seen a lot of conflicting information, because the answer isn't as simple as a yes or no. On one hand, you'll see sources like Wikipedia that say, yeah, ITINs are used to facilitate mortgages. This makes it sound like it's a pretty known, maybe even common practice. But then you see this, a direct quote from a credit union that actually has an ITN lending program. But they specifically say accept real estate lending. That's a pretty clear no. So what is the real story here? It's confusing, right? One place says yes, another says no. Well, the truth is, both of these statements are kind of true in their own way, because the real answer is all about the details.
So let's break this down and find out what's really going on. The real answer isn't a simply yes or no. It all, and I mean all, comes down to the lender. The key, the absolute secret to making this work is knowing where to look. Now, what's really interesting here is the pattern. Just look at this table. You see a lot of green check marks for things like car loans and credit cards. Lots of places offer those. But then you get to that last column, the mortgage loan, and you see a big red X, or it's just not listed at all. That's because most big, mainstream banks don't do this. ITIN mortgages are a specialized product, which means you need to find a specialized lender.
So here's the real deal. While a ton of lenders are going to tell you no, getting a mortgage with an ITN is not impossible. It's totally possible. There are specialized lenders, community banks, and mortgage brokers out there who focus on serving this market. The challenge isn't that it can't be done. The challenge is just finding them, and that's a challenge you can overcome.
So now that you know it is possible, let's talk about how to actually make it happen. These are the real actionable steps you can start taking on your path to owning a home. And this story just brilliantly illustrates what's possible. I want you to meet Armando. This is a real person. He filed his taxes with his ITN year after year for 4 years. And because he did, he got a $17,000 refund. What did he do with it? He used it as a down payment on a home. This isn't just a theory. This is happening for people.
So here is your personal checklist for success. Number 1, keep a consistent history of filing your taxes with your ITIN. Number 2, build up a strong credit score. 3, save up for a good down payment because these loans can sometimes require a bit more. And number 4, do your homework. Start researching those community banks, credit unions, and mortgage brokers that specialize in this. And hey, here's a resource you're going to want to save. Put this number in your phone right now. It's the IRS support line specifically for ITINs. If you ever have a question or you lose your assignment letter, calling this number can save you a world of trouble. Keep it handy.
Look, the path to homeownership with an ITIN, yeah, it has its challenges, but it is absolutely not impossible. With the right info, a solid plan, and just some good old-fashioned persistence, you can achieve that dream. You have the roadmap now. The only question left is, what's your first step going to be?